All right, now that I got the alternator out and moved a little bit, the next thing I need to do is go ahead and remove the positive side of the battery, because we definitely don't want to ground out the back of the alternator while we're still connected to the battery. I have the neutral side already disconnected. Another part that came in that I'll be making a separate little video on is I got an air oil separator. This car, when I first got it, I did a tune-up because of course it had been sitting since 2017, and it was running really good. Started up fine, no misses. Then it started to smoke every now and then, sometimes worse, sometimes not at all. Picked up a mist goes away, but I do smell oil, and I do have this weird, after running it for a while, I do have a high-pitched squeal that happens somewhere in the back. I assumed that we had some sort of vacuum leak. I was going to track it down at some point, but after doing a lot of reading and research, I kind of believe that it's probably failed. Now, the paperwork on this car was last registered 2017. It said it had around 40 some odd thousand miles. The more I work on it, the less I believe that. The LEDs on the dash are pretty much failing. I'm believing that this car probably has at least 80,000 miles on it. It definitely had a replaced water pump at some point, because the pump I took out was not a factory one. And just little things like that I've noticed that kind of show that it's not probably as low mileage as originally thought it was. But other than that, it's in good shape, so who cares? So yeah, so I'm going to disconnect the battery. I'm going to go ahead and get the alternator out, get it exchanged, and then get the pulleys in and put the belt back in, and then I think we'll do the AC condensers, and then we'll work on the oil separator separately. But we'll get, because we're waiting for the hoses for the bottom, so I'm not going to worry about reconnecting anything on the bottom until I get those hoses. They're going to be here in about 10 days apparently. The one hose was discontinued, and luckily I found a replacement for it. Who knew that they would discontinue some of them? So yeah. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and disconnect that positive side, get that alternator out, get it disconnected, get it swapped with the new one, put the new pulley that goes on that one bolt in. We'll go ahead and finish snugging down those three bolts on the top of the water pump so that they're done. We'll make sure we double check all the idler pulleys, put our new belt in, and call that done. So that's what we're on to next. Alright, so it is a bit of a tight fit in there. I had to kind of turn the alternator a couple of different angles so that I could finally get that plug undone, and then I was able to reach that 13 right there, and we'll start unscrewing it. I did break it free, but it's still not free enough because of the weight of the alternator. Probably be a lot easier to do this with the seat out so I could get in there, have a little bit more body leverage to move things around. Right here is my brand new one, so I'll get the last wire out of there and then we'll drop that. Alright, so took a little fiddling, got the alternator out. It doesn't seem like it, I mean, it seems like it was charging. I don't hear any rattle or anything in it, but those are the three pulleys we pulled out. They come in a set. You can find them for anywhere between about 50 to 100 bucks. You might as well replace them. These bearings go bad. You could press the bearing out, but they're cheap enough to not worry about. So that's the tensioner one. It comes with its own special nut, and these other two are just straight up idler. One goes on the alternator, one goes against the block, and that's our old belt. So let's see about trying to get the new one in. Hopefully it goes in smoothly, and then we can tighten down the idler, the tension, and throw the belt on, and we'll be done on this side. Let's take a look up in here, see if we got anything else we need to be concerned about. So So I haven't seen any oil leaks on the bottom. That is the knock sensor right there. If you had any bad wires, this would be a good time to change it. I did reroute this one battery terminal right here. It was going under that cased wire. Now I put it through. It gives me about a ½ inch more length. Can't really make that wire any longer, I don't think. Trying to see where it goes. And it goes into that harness right there. So that is what it is. Yeah, so I'm definitely thinking it was the AOS that was leaking, because all of that's oil, and it was probably leaking out of the intake, because when I first got the car, the intakes were just covered in oil, but there was no oil on the ground, so that must be where the oil's coming from. All right, let's go ahead and get this new alternator in. Hopefully I can do that without too much cussing or cutting up on my hands. All right, so with a bit of twisting, finagling, and some cussing, I got it back into place and the wires are hooked up and tight. If you have smaller hands, it is going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. Regretfully for me, that wasn't the case. So next we're going to put the long bolt with its new pulley, and then we'll put the other bolt in and tighten that all up. All right, so all our bolts are back in. They're all tightened down. I'm going to snug the idler pulley down once I go back onto the other side, and then I'll start looping the belt in. When you tighten this one down, especially with a new alternator, you'll hear it pop a few times, and it's that self-adjusting bolt back there in the back that kind of sandwiches the frame between the alternator. So just keep going until it's snug, and then just a little bit tighter. Don't need to get crazy tight with those. But yeah, so all our pulleys are in. Now they're all brand new, all new bearings. The water pump top 3 bolts are snugged up nice and tight. So now we're just going to do that last one and throw the belt on. All right, so I am fighting with the belt. I can just barely get it, and can't get it over the last pulley. So I have it laying out here in the sun for a few minutes, give it a little bit of stretch. I'm going to go ahead and put these condensers on real quick while I'm waiting for that. All right, so brand new out of the box. So that little tab goes in right there, and there are 2 bolts I need to hunt down that go into those 2 plastic slots. But we'll get this thing set up here real quick and figure out where those 2 other bolts are. I have the 2 bolts for the lines right here, so should be easy. Okay, pretty simple task. So slot it in, 2 bolts holding it in, the 2 bolts holding the lines to the cooler. Bada bing, bada boom. Took all of like 2 minutes. Took me 20 minutes to find all the damn tools that I had put in this tub, and had to dig through it twice before I found everything that was correct. All right, so we're going to move on to the other side, and then we should be able to put that belt in place. It's been out in the sun for about 15-20 minutes now, so hopefully it will be just enough to finish going on. Okay, so because of this dent right here where the car is pushed in, it's pulling the radiator back that way, and I cannot get the upper line to line up smoothly. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave the bolts in here for right now. I'll get my porta power out and see if I can push that back and line everything up a little bit better, because that hole right there is supposed to be over there, so it's a little bit out of whack. So we'll get it all sorted out. We'll push everything back into place, and then we'll get it lined up. So that should solve all the problems. If it isn't one thing, another. But yeah, see, I can't get this to turn enough because it's pushed back just too far. This one's not so bad because there's a lot more flex in it, but the other one doesn't like it. So we'll get it sorted out, and but in the meantime, we'll go ahead and fuss with that belt a little bit more and see if we can get it on. All right, so I've had to take a little bit of a break here. I had the belt out in the sun for a while. I have got it completely on-ish, except as you can see, it's in the wrong spot right there, and that's intentional for right now. I'm trying to give it a little stretch while it sits here in the car being warm, because I can get it just over the edge of the pulley, just to about the thing, and I can't get it any farther. It is super tight. I have double checked all of my pulleys and everything to make sure the belt is in the right place. It is just super tight, and I am pushing it so that the tensioner is right up against that other pulley, so I can't go any farther. So I'm gonna give it one more shot, and then after that I'm going to take a break and try to let it sit for a day or two and just let it stretch and see if maybe just being in this position will be enough for it to give me just enough stretch to slide it over. Either that, or I need another set of hands to help push while I hold the wrench. We'll see.